Welcome to MyCounselor.Online. I'm Josh Spurlock, certified sex therapist, and in this video we're talking about the top 10 reasons that married women aren't interested in sex. So here's the scenario that's common in my office. I have a husband and wife couple come in and they love each other. They enjoy their relationship. They don't have too much conflict. All things being equal, they are a really great team. But when they do have conflict, it seems to be in one particular area of the relationship, and it seems to frequently revolve around sex. And the common story is the husband's feeling disconnected, rejected, not wanted sexually. About 1 in 5 cases, it's the other way around. But in the majority of cases, it's a husband feeling not wanted sexually, not valued, that part of the relationship's not valued. And a wife is feeling like she just doesn't have the same desire level as her husband does. And so what happens is we get conflict between each other, fights around sex. We get duty sex taking place where wife is making herself available sexually but really isn't engaged, which feels unfulfilling for both. And instead of sex being a source of strength in the relationship, instead of being what God's designed it to be, something where it's fun for both and they look forward to times of connecting together, and that being a fairly frequent thing within the week for them to connect and enjoy as a couple, instead it becomes a topic that we avoid because there's conflict around it, we can't talk about it, there's hurt feelings, there's frustration, there's disappointment, and it instead becomes a source of disconnection in the relationship. And so they're presenting in my office or we're connecting via Zoom. And the request is, what do we do about this? Why are we experiencing this? And what can we do about it? And that's really what this article and the series of articles associated with this post is about. So the top 10 presenting reasons why couples experience this in their relationship. So for each of these topics, there's a full article and a set of videos that goes with each of them, kind of drilling into how to troubleshoot these. So if you identify with any of these top 10, then you'll want to look into the video that's associated with and the article that's associated with that item so that you can get some pointers on how to troubleshoot that and see if you can't make some progress on it. So let's get started. The number one of the top reason is fatigue. I know that may sound odd, but women's bodies are influenced by fatigue differently than men. Men can generally be very physically exhausted and still very much interested in sex, in connecting sexually. But fatigue influences a woman's body in a way it prevents it from being able to arouse. With all of these, there's a pleasure principle that says we desire to do that which we enjoy or we derive pleasure from, and we don't desire to do that which we don't enjoy. That's why I never have a craving or a desire to be poked in the eye, because I don't enjoy being poked in the eye. So I would never crave that or have a desire for it. If a woman isn't enjoying sex, then she's not going to have a desire to connect sexually. And fatigue gets in the way of the body's ability to physically arouse, which limits its ability to be enjoyable for a wife. So fatigue oftentimes is a desire killer within a relationship. Secondly, number 2 would be our hormone cycle. That a woman's hormone cycle significantly influences her sexual desire. And it'd be normal for a married woman to only have an initiating desire to connect sexually a few days a month, right around ovulation, where her body is saying, hey, I've dropped an egg, go fertilize it. And outside of that, for sexual connection to be motivated out of a receptive desire versus out of that initiating hormonally pushed desire. Third reason I encounter is anorgasmia, or an inability or difficulty achieving orgasm. Oftentimes, couples don't talk about this because it's a source of fear or feelings of inadequacy within the relationship. But if wife isn't experiencing regular orgasms when she connects sexually, then that's going to get in the way of her desiring or wanting to connect sexually. Fourth, I see a lack of emotional connection between couples getting in the way of sexual desire for a woman. A man doesn't have to feel very emotionally close to his wife to desire to connect with her sexually. In fact, a man feels much closer to his wife from connecting with her sexually. It's not the same for a wife. While it's true that a woman feels closer and feels more connected with her husband when they connect sexually, there's a need for a emotional connectedness prior to connecting sexually. That without feeling emotionally close, a wife feels emotionally disconnected from her husband. That desire to connect just isn't going to be there. So we have to troubleshoot the reasons why they might feel emotionally disconnected as a means of troubleshooting the lack of sexual desire. Fifth, physical pain. If a person feels pain when connecting sexually, if a woman feels some sort of discomfort or pain in her body is going to form what we call a sexual aversion. This is where the body says, hey, this is not good. It creates pain. You don't desire this. You don't want this. You want to avoid it at all costs. And so sometimes couples will, early in their relationship, experience pain and they think, well, we'll just push through it and it will be okay and it'll get better. But instead, what happens is the sexual aversion forms and it gets worse. And eventually the body just shuts down all the way. We can even experience vaginismus, where the vaginal opening spasms in a way that doesn't allow penetration to take place. And so physical pain becomes a barrier then to wife desiring or enjoying sex. Sometimes it's related to trauma. This would be the sixth reason, that traumatic experiences that have been a part of your story and get in the way of you feeling like sex is a good thing. And instead it feels dirty, it feels bad, it feels triggering. You feel anxious about sex, and you generally just want to avoid those traumatic feelings that are associated with anything of a sexual nature. The seventh reason I see is sometimes a fear of pregnancy, that if a husband and wife aren't on the same page about conception, if we're not taking reliable steps to prevent conception, if conception isn't desired, then that can get in the way of desiring to connect sexually. That the anxiety, the fear associated with that actually serves as a block that gets in the way of being able to enjoy connecting sexually. Number 8 is body self-consciousness. And so when we're sitting on the bedpost, kind of watching ourselves, judging ourselves, not feeling good about our body, that gets in the way of us wanting to connect sexually. The female sexual desire is driven by different motivators than male sexual desire. Generally speaking, male sexual desire is driven by how attractive he finds his wife. Her body, the attractiveness of his wife is what motivates a man's sexual desire. It's different for women. The primary driver for a woman's sexual desire is not how attractive she finds her husband, but how attractive she feels, how good you feel in your own skin, how attractive you feel in your own body. And if you don't feel good in your own skin, if you don't feel attractive or desirable, that's going to be a huge block to you desiring to connect sexually, and something that's going to have to be worked through in order for you to have a desire to be naked with your spouse and enjoy connecting sexually. Number 9 is this sexuality, connecting sexually, sexual desire is dirty. A lot of times, if we've grown up within the church, we can have a message that we absorb that sex is bad, it's nasty, it's dirty, ugly, save it for the one you love, right? And so sex is always spoken of in a negative connotation, and having sexual feelings is considered slutty or promiscuous or negative in nature. And so we suppress and push down our sexual desire for fear of it leading to sexual sin. And that association of negativity with sexuality sticks. And even after we're married, we still feel kind of dirtiness around sexuality and tend to suppress or avoid those sexual feelings or the sexual reality of who we are. 10th, the last item on our top 10 list here is busyness, which maybe sounds odd, but busyness is a huge sex killer in relationship. With careers and children and just running around, and we already talked about the influence of fatigue in the body, that sometimes literally we just don't make time to emotionally connect. We don't make time to connect in a way that's meaningful for each of us. And we get in the habit of what I call drive-through sex. Think about McDonald's as the word's picture, right? And that movie Super Size Me that came out a number of years ago. The idea is that every now and then, stopping through the drive-thru to grab a quick bite to eat when you don't have time for a healthy meal is okay. It's not going to kill you. But if all that you have are these drive-through quickie kinds of experiences, over time, the bottom line is, the end of the story is it kills you, or it kills your sex life. And that because it's not fulfilling, it's not rich, it's not connective, all the things that God designed sex to be. And so oftentimes the enemy of great is good or good enough, that just getting by kind of sex that over time erodes away at our desire to connect. And so busyness can be a huge obstacle to a really healthy sexual relationship. And we have to work at figuring out how do we prioritize times of emotional connection within the relationship as well as times of sexual connection. So that's the top 10. If any of those resonate with you, drill into the article that's associated with that topic. You'll find a video there and some tips on troubleshooting and how to go about overcoming that obstacle so that you can enjoy in your marriage the kind of sexual relationship that God desires you to have. One that's fun, passionate, and playful and enjoyable for both husband and wife, something that you both look forward to and is a source of strength in your relationship. That's all for now. Blessings on you. And until next time, keep loving life.